Hi and welcome to week 2 of Oceptember. This is the second video in my series where I draw every single day for the month of September about some prompt in regards to my OCs based on the Oceptember prompt list. You can go and watch my first video on Oceptember down in the link in the description below. Without further ado, let's get on to the drawings. So day 8's prompt was what's in their bag. Of all the OCs that I have, there's only really one OC that I draw often with a bag of some sort, and that's Nissus. So I decided to just draw what's in his bag. Since he's a lab assistant, I just gave him some items that I thought some sort of lab assistant would probably use, like notebooks, pencils, his ID, a wallet to carry around all of his wallet stuff, and his phone. And you might notice that I also added some gems, because in this world, you can basically store power in gems, and power being magic. And they don't really have any sort of like energizer drinks, or like they don't really even have coffee. So instead they have these gems which you can basically extract the magic from in order to give yourself a boost. And normally something the size of the smaller gem would be perfectly fine, but sometimes, as all STEM students will know, you need something a lot bigger as a pick-me-upper, so that's why he carries around both gems. And usually he only uses the small one, but sometimes he needs to pull a couple of all-nighters, so he just uses this bigger one instead. He also has a comb, as you might notice, because you have to tame those long, luscious locks somehow, right? And that's kind of all I have to say about this particular drawing, since it's pretty basic prompt, pretty basic drawing. So on to the next one. So day 9's prompt was friends, and I had to draw Kane and Andrea from my cyberpunk story Oblivious Game, title pending, like all of my titles are, because their dynamic is just the best. They're two of the top agents, I suppose, from the group in this world that call themselves the vampires, but with a Y instead of an I, because they're edgy like that. And they basically go around and do petty crimes, not anything major, usually graffiti, and they do some hacking, which is what Andrea specializes in. Kane specializes more in the graffiti side of it. And they basically just wreak havoc in town a lot because they think it's fun. There's no real malicious intent behind it. It's just they're just two butts having fun in this group. And I love them. They're my babies. I really like the claw gloves in their design, but I always have just the hardest trouble drawing those gloves. I don't know why. It's just the shape, I suppose, of the claws just gets me in a tangle every single time. I'm probably gonna simplify that to like maybe just nails or something. But other than that, this drawing was fun. Basically, I was trying out a new brush, but otherwise, another pretty basic drawing for the books. Next is day 10 with the prompt enemies, and I had to keep going with my Oblivious Game story because Agent Ash, as Kane is known as, and the other guy, Nick, also known as Agent N, are very much opposed in terms of their work, because the vampires go around doing petty crimes like graffiti, like I said, but the hunters, which is derived from vampire hunters, basically just have the job to stop whatever vampires are doing. There's no real other motive currently behind their work, because this story, like all my other ones, is still a bit of a work in progress. But basically, they're pretty much arch enemies, and they will do anything to get in the way of each other, which is a problem because of a fact of their normal lives is that while they're working, they go under pseudonyms like Ash and N. And so during their civilian lives, they don't reveal anything about their work. So Kane tells Nick that he works at basically a security job at a local shop, and Nick just says that he works basically an office job, which for some reason has nighttime hours, but that's besides the point. So that's just how they go around as a cover-up, and during one of the future prompts, I will be discussing further into why they don't tell each other exactly what they do as a job. I also really like this drawing. Like, of all the drawings, I think this one and one of the other Oblivious Game pieces are like my favorites of the week, definitely. So with day 11 and the prompt casual setting, we're back to the Masked Hunters trio, the Tachi trio, as I call them, Keigo, Yoko, and Yaman. And this drawing in particular, I'm probably going to start with, I did not like it. I've been running into a bit of an art block recently, and this is kind of the drawing that I started getting that art block with. So I decided to do a lot of the sketch without recording it because I didn't know what in the heck I was doing. So that's why that's not there. And in terms of the actual drawing, it's nothing big, just them chilling in their house. So Yoko and Yaman are discussing plans of probably what their next plan of action will be for their next big hunt, and Keigo is just being Keigo and reading a book. You might also notice that these three all have a physical disability each, so Yaman doesn't have one of his arms, Yoko doesn't have one of her legs, and Keigo, not very obviously, is blind. And this ties into a drawing I'm going to be doing for one of the feature prompts, not this week, but next week. And it also has to tie in with their tragic backstory. But Yaman, thankfully, he lost his non-dominant arm, so his life, other than for tasks which usually require both arms, his life didn't change too much, but definitely for Yoko and Keigo, the change was a lot greater because of their original status as hunters. They had to basically adapt to their situation, and they adapted really well. I'm really excited to maybe share how they got through it soon. Okay, so day 12 has the prompt formal setting, and originally I had a completely different drawing. It was of Elias, the main character of my Lone Angel story, and it was really boring, like even more boring than some of the other drawings. It was just him standing in a suit. So I decided to redo it, and I'm so glad I redid it because I redid it with my Oblivious Game quartet, and it's just so adorable. This is the time when Kane and Nick get married, which ties into what I was talking about before. So Kane and Nick, even though during their job as Ash and N, they are mortal enemies, in their civilian lives, they're actually married. And it works out because both of them are kind of dumb. So Andrea and Brenda, who are the other two in the background, they are basically the respective right-hand man's, right-hand woman's. There we go. So Andrea is Kane's right-hand woman, and Brenda is Nick's right-hand woman. So the right-hand woman together, they have an idea, like they have their suspicions that the other side of this pair is not somebody they should be so chummy with, but Kane and Nick are married, so it's not like they can't be chummy if they're actually married. But it just complicates matters a lot, and that is like the whole premise of the Oblivious Game story and the whole name, because these two are oblivious, and it's just a story about how they end up figuring out that each other are on the other side of the team, I suppose. And it's so good. I love it. It's my favorite story, probably, honestly, even though I don't have much fleshed out for it. It's so good. After that is day 13 with the prompt of time skip. And I know that if you get the prompt time skip, usually you're supposed to do from now into the future. But all those are kind of spoilers as to the stories that I'm trying to write, so I didn't want to do that. So instead, I decided to have a time skip from when this character was young to now. This character being Silas, one of my characters from the Lone Angel story. He is also one of my favorite boys, probably. I just really like drawing him, and I gave him a new hairstyle recently, so I really wanted to draw him. And when he was young, he was very much shy, crybaby boy. He didn't really want to talk to people, very much introverted. But as he grew up, he ended up becoming much more of a self-confident, extroverted kind of guy, and I just really like how he is now. And it's all thanks to his two partners, Sophia and Jack, who I'll probably end up drawing soon because I love these three so much. Yeah, but in this drawing, it's just Silas being himself, just sitting down, chatting, I suppose, in a way, with his younger self, who is very intimidated by him in the future, since he has no idea how he would become that sort of person, considering the fact that he has amnesia in his backstory. He doesn't remember very much. Final prompt of this week was day 14 with the historical or fantasy AU. And I'm still on that Oblivious Game high, baby, so I'm gonna keep going with that story. So I decided to just draw Kane and Nick in a more fantasy-ish setting. So this one, not really much to talk about. I just decided to make Kane more vampire-y, I suppose, because his group name is called the Vampires, and his old story used to be him being a vampire. So there's that. And Nick, definitely, if he was fantasy AU kid, he would definitely be a soldier or a knight of some sort. So I just gave him the knight outfit. And so not really much to say. Kane, his look, I based off of a K-drama, since Kane is actually half Korean. And the particular K-drama I based it off of is Gu Family Book, which is something I would highly recommend people watch because it was very good last time I remember watching it. And I just really like Korean fashion a lot, especially the Joseon era fashion, because it's very nice. I like that kind of outfits. And for Nick, I just based it off of D&D Paladins, since D&D Paladins have like the perfect look for Nick, and he used to be a very, very, very Christian character before I changed him to the cyberpunk world. So that's kind of the decision choices I made for this one. Just overall, very fun. I like it. In terms of the actual drawing, I've been fighting that art block a lot, and this one I think came out pretty good considering the art block I'm going through right now. And this one, and so a lot of the Oblivious Game drawings are probably my favorites. So this one, the formal setting one definitely, and the enemies drawing. Those three definitely are my favorites of the week. And yeah, that was week 2 of Oceptember. Definitely some really fun prompts this week. I definitely had a lot of fun even while fighting through that art block. So if you want to see the full res pictures of all these drawings, I'll have them up on my social medias, specifically my Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. So you can go look over there. And yeah, I'll see you next week for week 3.